The rain hammered against the windows. Wind rattled the trees outside. Most families in Shelby, North Carolina, were asleep, waiting for the storm to pass. Inside one small home, everything appeared completely ordinary. A 9-year-old girl named Asha Degree had spent the evening with her family. The day before had been filled with normal childhood moments. She had attended church, spent time with relatives, and returned home with her parents and older brother. Like countless other Sunday evenings, nothing suggested their lives were about to change forever. Earlier that night, a power outage swept through the neighborhood. The family waited for the electricity to return before settling in for bed. Eventually, the lights came back on, and the house grew quiet. It was February 14, 2000. Valentine's Day. No one could have imagined that by sunrise, Asha would be gone. According to her family, Asha and her brother shared a bedroom. At some point during the early hours of the morning, while everyone else slept, Asha quietly got out of bed. She didn't wake her parents. She didn't wake her brother. She simply got dressed, gathered a small backpack, and walked toward the front door. She was only 9 years old. Outside, the weather was unforgiving. Rain fell steadily. The wind was strong. The roads were dark and nearly empty. Yet sometime around the early morning hours, Asha stepped outside alone. No note was left behind. No explanation. No one in the house heard her leave. For years, investigators have tried to answer one simple question. Why? Why would a 9-year-old leave the safety of her home in the middle of a storm? The answer has never been found. What happened next is one of the few parts of this mystery investigators have been able to piece together. Several motorists traveling along Highway 18 later reported seeing a young girl walking alone beside the road before dawn. At first, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Who would expect to find a child walking by herself on a dark highway in the middle of a storm? One driver became so concerned that he turned his vehicle around to check on her. But as he approached, the little girl ran off the roadside and disappeared into the darkness near a wooded area. By the time anyone realized something was terribly wrong, she was gone. Back at the Degree home, morning had arrived. It was time to get ready for school. But Asha wasn't in her room. Her parents searched the house. Called her name. Checked every room. Within moments, confusion turned into panic. They contacted the authorities. What began as a desperate search by a frightened family quickly became one of the largest missing child investigations in North Carolina history. Hundreds of volunteers joined law enforcement officers in searching the surrounding woods, fields, and roads. Helicopters scanned from above. Tracking dogs searched the ground. Neighbors, friends, and strangers all hoped they would be the ones to find Asha safe. But as the hours passed, hope slowly gave way to fear. The little girl who had walked out into the storm had seemingly vanished. And the mystery was only beginning. Because investigators were about to discover something that would make this case even more puzzling. The people who saw Asha that morning all described the same unbelievable sight. A 9-year-old girl. Walking completely alone. In the rain. Before sunrise. But where was she going? And why? The first few hours of any missing persons case are often the most important. For investigators, every minute matters. Every witness. Every detail. Every decision. As officers searched Shelby and the surrounding area, one report immediately stood out. Someone had seen a little girl walking alone along Highway 18 before sunrise. At first, investigators questioned whether the report could possibly be true. Who would mistake a child for someone else on such a dark, stormy morning? But then another witness came forward. And then another. Independently, they described seeing what appeared to be the same young girl. Their accounts were remarkably similar. A small child. Walking alone. Along the side of the highway. In heavy rain. Long before daylight. One of those witnesses was a truck driver traveling south on Highway 18. As he drove through the darkness, his headlights illuminated a figure walking along the shoulder of the road. At first, he assumed it couldn't possibly be a child. The weather was too severe. The hour was too early. But as he drew closer, he realized the person appeared to be a young girl carrying a backpack. The sight troubled him. He later reported turning his vehicle around because he wanted to make sure she was okay. But the moment his truck approached, the girl suddenly left the roadside. She ran toward a wooded area beside the highway and disappeared into the darkness. The driver searched with his headlights but couldn't see where she had gone. Believing she may have been frightened by the large truck, he eventually continued on his route. At the time, he had no way of knowing he had just witnessed what could become one of the final confirmed sightings of Asha Degree. As investigators retraced the witnesses' routes, they focused on the stretch of Highway 18 where she had reportedly been seen. The road was surrounded by wooded areas, open fields, and scattered homes. Search teams combed the landscape on foot. Dogs followed every possible scent. Helicopters scanned from above. Volunteers lined up shoulder to shoulder, searching through brush and ditches, hoping to find any clue that might explain where Asha had gone. The weather, however, had made the search far more difficult. Hours of rain had washed away footprints. Any physical evidence left on the roadside could have been damaged or lost. Despite the massive effort, investigators found no clear trail leading away from the highway. No signs of a struggle. No indication that she had returned home. No evidence explaining what happened after she left the road. Yet one question kept resurfacing. Why did she run into the woods? Was she simply frightened by an approaching truck? Or was she trying to avoid being seen? Investigators couldn't answer either question. They could only document what the witnesses reported. As the search expanded, detectives began examining Asha's life in detail. They spoke with family members, friends, teachers, neighbors. Everyone described her in similar ways. Responsible, quiet, respectful. A child who generally followed the rules. Nothing in her background suggested she had planned to run away. Nothing pointed to ongoing problems at home. The deeper investigators looked, the stranger the mystery became. If Asha hadn't planned to disappear, then what convinced a 9-year-old to leave the safety of her home during a violent storm? That question would soon become even more difficult to answer. Because just when investigators feared they had run out of leads, they discovered something in a nearby shed. Something that suggested Asha had stopped somewhere after leaving the highway. It wasn't the breakthrough they had hoped for. But it would become one of the first physical clues in a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. More than 2 decades have passed since 9-year-old Asha Degree disappeared into the darkness. Children who were her age in the year 2000 are now adults. Entire neighborhoods have changed. Roads have been widened. Technology has transformed criminal investigations. But one question has never changed. What happened to Asha Degree? Over the years, investigators have followed countless leads. They've interviewed witnesses, collected evidence, re-examined physical items, issued new appeals to the public. And as forensic technology has improved, older evidence has continued to be reviewed in the hope that something once overlooked might finally reveal the truth. Despite all of those efforts, no single explanation has been confirmed. There are many ideas about what happened after Asha left her home. Some believe she intended to meet someone. Others think she may have been persuaded to leave by someone she trusted. Still others wonder whether a chance encounter on that lonely highway changed everything. But none of those possibilities have been proven. That distinction matters. In a case that has lasted this long, it's easy for rumors to spread faster than facts. The evidence tells investigators what might have happened. It does not tell them exactly what did happen. And that's why this mystery remains one of the most heartbreaking missing child cases in American history. Perhaps the most haunting part of this story is not simply that Asha disappeared. It's that she made a choice that no one has ever been able to fully explain. A little girl who, for reasons still unknown, walked away from the safety of her home into a cold February storm. Every new development has raised hope. Every promising lead has been investigated. Yet the central mystery remains. Why did she leave? Who, if anyone, crossed her path after she disappeared from the highway? And where is Asha Degree? For her family, those questions are not just part of an investigation. They are part of everyday life. Every birthday. Every holiday. Every passing year serves as another reminder that someone they love never came home. For investigators, this is not considered a forgotten case. It remains open. They continue to encourage anyone with credible information to come forward. Even the smallest detail, one that may have seemed unimportant years ago, could help investigators better understand what happened that morning. Sometimes, long unsolved cases are solved because one person remembers something they never thought mattered. One conversation. One vehicle. One unusual event. One missing piece. As long as those questions remain unanswered, there is still reason to hope that the truth can one day be uncovered. Until then, the image of a 9-year-old girl walking alone through a storm before sunrise continues to haunt investigators, her family, and everyone who has followed this case. Some mysteries are remembered because of how they ended. This one is remembered because it never truly did. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. If this documentary helped you better understand Asha's case, consider subscribing to Very Dark Cases for more carefully researched true crime documentaries. And if you have respectful thoughts about this case, share them in the comments. What part of Asha's disappearance has stayed with you the most? Because somewhere, the answer to this mystery may still exist.